Well, hi there folks. Remember this rather unsuccessful Maiden of my latest RC creation? This model had a massive difference in thrust between two apparently same motors. An opinion online was that it was down to me using not a matched pair of speed controllers. As you can see, with the magic of a glue gun I got it back together, but did a matched pair of speed controllers fix the problem? Maybe not. This is the story of a little lucky break that solved the problem. Let's start here with the first test I did after installing a matched pair of speed controllers. Matching speed controllers and apparently matching motors. Let's see what happens when I actually try it. To be honest, it's actually worse now than it was before. But the port one is actually shuddering now when it tries to start and making a horrible noise. So talk about differential thrust, it's actually completely mad now. And as I suspected, it was nothing to do with speed controllers, the throttle setting on each speed controller. These are straight out of the packing, they've been calibrated to my transmitter and they should work equally. I bought a matching pair from a supplier and this one didn't feel right. Whereas this one span, this one felt notchy. As I say, even worse now. This one starts beautifully, and this one is making a horrible noise. I've done every test imaginable to rule out anything other than the possibility that it's a motor, including changing which one's the master, which one's the slave, swapping over the speed controllers, checked again my mixes on the transmitter. It's absolutely the way it should be. The fact it's behaving like that has actually proved to me that my suspicions were right in the first place, and I got a duff motor despite having bought a matching pair from the same supplier at the same time. And even testing it without a speed controller, just using a servo tester, you can see that it's not behaving properly. It's a knackered motor. Plus the speed controller gets very, very hot. I think it's shorted. But that's not the end of the story. I ordered another motor and did a few more tests with the motor in and then removed it to do some bench tests with it, with some surprising results, as you'll see if you stick with this to the end of the story. Having ordered another one, I thought I'd do some more tests with this. So I tested it with another speed controller with a 3S, worked fine, but wouldn't work with a 2S. Very strange, I thought. Anyway, to cut a long story short, at this point I had a stroke of luck. One of the bullet connectors pretty much fell off in my hand. So it's not surprising, it was barely held on by one strand of wire. It's not surprising, having attached and changed speed controllers so many times, each time the fragile connection was getting worse and worse, until eventually it just wasn't driving one phase of the motor properly. So I remade the connection, tested it again with a 3S and this speed controller, worked fine. Then I thought, okay, this is the real test, will it now work with a 2S? And lo and behold. So that was the cause of the problem, and it appeared that there was absolutely nothing wrong with the motor at all. Quite possible that a mismatch between speed controllers contributed to it, but the proper test obviously would be to actually reconnect both motors and test it as it would be wired in the model. But it appears that it's actually reaching its full speed now, and it's not making this get really hot, which is what it was doing. Can't really test it until it's glued on and fixed to see if the thrust is the same. Next step is I'm going to connect it all up together without this glued on against the other motor. And I know people are going to criticise me for testing with the props on, but it needed to be tested under load. Right, the moment of truth. I'm going to open the throttle now. Whoa, they're both firing up at the same time. Let's see what happens when I go flat out. Whoa. It looks encouraging. I'm going to glue it back on. It's the only way I can test the thrust, but it's certainly not making that awful clattering noise. That's a good start. Speed controller's not getting exceptionally hot. Motor's both the same temperature. Right, going to glue it back on. Here we go. Back in a minute. Right, okay folks. They're all wired up, glued back on. That was the troublesome one. As I say, I couldn't really tell until I'd got it back on the model whether or not the thrust was similar. And if you recall in that other test, it was just pulling so hard that way. Let's see what happens. This is a real-time test. Give it a little go. Feels quite similar. Half throttle. Equal. That is it. Just look at that. Equal thrust. I am 99% confident that this has a chance of flying now. So here it is, back in one piece and ready for a maiden. I'll just show you the installation. So it's receiver here, one speed controller. I've actually got a model finder beeper there. This is the master and wired across here. This is the slave. 3S800 goes in there with this little cover that I actually showed in another video. So of course power goes across to both speed controllers through here. But that's ready to rumble. And just to recap, things are not always as they first appear. It just proved to me just quite what the effect of one poor connection on a brushless motor can be on a model build. But that's it for now. Hope you found it interesting. I certainly have. If you want to see the Maiden, don't forget to hit subscribe. And while you're there, why not check out some of the other vids on my channel. But I'll stop waffling. Hopefully I will catch you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.